Okay, so originally I was going to do a talk that stepped through how to make a blog using Gatsby, but due to some technical reasons we can't do live coding, which is probably good in my case because I usually mess up and break things and then spend half an hour teaching you how to repair the bad spellings and mistakes I've made. But this talk's all about building sites with Gatsby. Just a quick straw poll, has anybody used Gatsby, heard of Gatsby in this room at all? Excellent, this is going to help with my slide later. Okay, so I've been using Gatsby now outside of work for a little while on a few side projects. So I'm not by all means a master of it, but I'm really enthusiastic about what it can do and what it does, and that's why I'm here to talk about it today. There's a few unfamiliar faces in the room, so hello, I'm Jody. I've put listed myself here as a front-end developer, for the basis of this talk, I am a front-end developer. I'm actually a UI lead down at Short Breaks, and I've been in the company now for 14 years, give or take. So I've been here quite a while, and you can contact me on any kind of platform, you know, at Jody Doubleday. So if you've got any questions you want to ask in the room, if you start playing with this stuff outside of work and stuff like that, if you've got any questions, please, or find anything cool about it, then please message me, let me know. Okay, so some of the people in the room are going, what the hell is Gatsby? Gatsby, in its simplest state, is a static site generator. And what that means is, I suppose in olden days, back in olden days of the web, you used to have systems that when you built a page, it would go off to an API or go off to a database, grab loads of content, and then rebuild the page and spit that content into the page. The old HXSEO system used to do that. So if you think about, I mean, in Short Breaks, all of our Merlin sites are still on that system. If a user requests a website, it goes off, grabs data from a database, and then publishes it to the web, and that's what the user sees. That round trip takes a long time, so for the users of the website, it's slow. And what a static site generator does that before the customer requests it. So it builds the site beforehand and sticks up a plain HTML page. When a user requests a web page, they just get the web page, and it's super fast. So that's what static site generator is. With Gatsby, the difference is it's all built in React.js, which is the buzzword, the cool thing that everybody wants to use. It uses GraphQL behind the scenes. I won't go into technically what that is, mainly because I don't really know much about that. So, but I'm sure there's a lot of developers in here that's like, oh, GraphQL, cool. It's really well supported. There's a big following. It's a big GitHub repo, lots of likes, lots of favorites on there. It has a big set of documentation, and it's used around the world. There's tons of stuff out there for it. For me, from UX and from front end, the reason I like it is it's super fast. And I don't even need to think about making my page performant. Out the box, it's super fast, which is why I started looking into it in the first place. This is a slide from JSConf, which happened on 1st of June. So super modern slide, and it grabbed my attention straight away. According to their poll that they did, again across the globe, 8% of JavaScript users have used Gatsby or are using Gatsby. And actually that helps with my kind of straw poll in the room of anybody who's used or heard or done Gatsby before. I kind of expected a lower number, and actually there was a lot more of you that have used it before or played around with it or heard of it before, which is really, really good. Enough of the boring stuff. Let's get started using Gatsby. And as I said, what we're going to do is basically build a blog, a really basic blog. Now, I wanted this to be really simple, and I wanted this to be not too technical, to kind of cater for everyone in the room. So the devs in the room, if you're thinking, that's like quite simplistic, come on. I'm happy to do dropout sessions another time, or drop-in sessions, sorry, dropout sessions, know what they are. Drop-in sessions where you can come along and we'll go into more in-depth with the code side of things, and we can build any kind of thing. I'm also happy to do sessions with people who've never touched HTML in their lifetime, and we'll go through making that. But I'm doing a very high level pitch on this right now, so the briefing there. Okay, so the first thing we do in Gatsby is there's things called Gatsby starters. They're little starter projects. They're kind of examples of websites to use, and you can clone those and adapt them to yourself to do whatever you want. And there's currently, I think this changed yesterday, there's 195 Gatsby starter projects in the Gatsby repo. and that do anything and everything to do with the website you can imagine. I'm picking the first one. This is the easiest one, blogs. But there's e-commerce sites which link up to Shopify or all these different kind of e-commerce platforms that make you sell and buy stuff on there. There's ones that link up with content management systems like Netlify or Prismic, and WordPress as a content management system. And there's also a link to that. And that's, if you were to ask me where most of the Gatsby clientele is coming from, it's kind of the WordPress people. So these people have been building WordPress sites for years. WordPress has had a massive UI update to their thing, and it's gone down like a lead balloon. It's not accessible. They've not really thought about the UX of the site and everything, and people are completely moving away from WordPress to build sites. So instead, people are using WordPress as a database of content and then building their sites with Gatsby. And that's kind of one of the biggest moves. So if you're in the world of Gatsby and can link up to a WordPress CMS, you can probably get a lot of money from a lot of people that don't want to use the new system. So in this instance, we're going to use the Gatsby starter blog. And there are 4 commands that gets you set up with a blog. So for those who are not technical, I'll explain exactly what all these mean. For those who are technical, this is going to sound boring for a bit. So the first line, npm install -g Gatsby CLI. That means install globally from npm Gatsby CLI. So that just installs Gatsby on your machine. Then I'm going to run the command Gatsby new Jodie's blog, which just says create a new Gatsby site and call it Jodie's blog. And use this URL, which is the Gatsby starter blog. Should have cut that S better. The Gatsby starter blog as your base. So use that as a base thing that I want to do. Then I change directory CD into that Jodie's blog. This is all done in terminal, by the way, if anybody is know. And then you run the command Gatsby develop. Those 4 commands will get you a blog on your laptop. And it looks like this. I mean, I'm not selling that like it's I'm not saying that it's, oh yeah, it's just that simple. But it really is just that simple. It's literally those 4 commands and you'll get a blog like this. Yeah, all right, it's got dummy data in it. It's got fake stuff in there that you'll want to change yourself. And that's fine. But what you've got is a list of blog posts. You can click on each one of those blog posts and it goes to a nice page that tells you all about the post itself. And so anybody here can create a blog that they can put their musings on the web, and it's great. It's a really simple blog setup. All right, the design is a bit black and white, but it's readable. So what it's actually done is put this folder on your machine. So in this case, I've got Jodie's blog, and there is a folder there called content, and inside that is a folder called blog, and in there are folders of all your blog posts. So you can see in the content folder is where all your content and images are held, all held in Markdown. So the Hello World blog post, there is a Markdown file called indexmd in the Hello World folder, and that contains all your text. And does everybody here know Markdown? Everybody understand Markdown? Getting lots of nods. Put your hand up if you don't. Never heard it before? Excellent. It's basically what everybody uses on WhatsApp and Slack and everything now. So bolding things out is just adding some stars and stuff like that. But you can just write your text, press save, and it automatically updates for you. And in your web browser, you'll have your blog post in there. It's really simple. That's it. You've got a blog. All right, that blog is on your laptop, but you've got a blog. For those developers in the room that want to know about what Gatsby is actually doing behind the scenes, there's a config file, Gatsby config. It's kind of the engine room of Gatsby. And that kind of looks like this. And I am aware that the screen here is not great and the colours aren't that great either. But it is a JSON file. It's just a list of the things, a list of plugins. And there are loads of plugins that automatically install with Gatsby. They're all safe, they're all verified by Gatsby, they're all secure, etc., etc. And out the box, you get some really good tools. And you can also add loads to them. So 2 that I've picked out that get included in pretty much every Gatsby project is Gatsby Plugin Offline and Gatsby Plugin Manifest. And these are 2 things that make your website lightning fast. Really lightning fast. Gatsby Plugin Offline means that if your when your website updates, it will push kind of changes to a user. So if they go through a tunnel on a train and they've run out of Wi-Fi, they can still use and read your blog as if it's a personal web app, or an app as on your phone. So they can still use it. I mean, I'm not trying to say that my blog needs to be read offline and everybody's reading on trains on the way to London. I'm not that pretentious, but yeah, read my blog. No. Gatsby plugin manifest gives it a bit of my kind of like, you can use it as an app, and anybody who's worked with a manifest file on there, anybody who's not used the manifest file, you don't need to touch it. It just automatically does stuff for you, so don't worry about it. But there's tons more plugins you can just add in, and they don't really need to be configured that much. So an example is you can do Gatsby plugin Google Analytics, and you just give it your analytics ID, and it works. There is Hotjar, Gatsby Hotjar. For any of you who've used Hotjar before, it's kind of a screen recording for users, so you can see what your users are doing on your site, what they're clicking on, how much they're scrolling, how much they're waiting, how long they're reading a blog post for. Just Gatsby plugin Hotjar, give it your Hotjar username, and it works. You start getting your screen readings recorded. All these things are pluginable, and the plugin list for Gatsby is phenomenal. I think we're on like 3,000 plugins of all different types, and there's very, very few duplicates. They do their job, and they do their job well, so nobody needs to kind of create different versions of. Okay, so you've made your website on your laptop, and that's great. You're making your blog. You've written all your blog posts, but the only person that can currently read it is you, because it's on your machine and the world can't see it. So this is kind of a bonus feature. It's not really to do with Gatsby, but I just wanted to give you a kind of thing like anybody in the room who's not a developer can just deploy a blog. And there's many different tools out there to do that, and some really technical, some really simple. But the one I use personally is a website called Netlify. Has anybody used Netlify before? Again, nice group, awesome. So you guys are like, yeah, this is brilliant. Netlify's great. If you think otherwise, you're wrong. But they have this really cool feature for anybody who's not very technical, and it's a drag and drop. When you sign up to Gatsby, you can literally drag your files onto this box here, and it will deploy it with full CI, service, everything. It will just push your website out. If it has any build issues, it will report them in CI and it'll tell you what exactly is wrong with them. But it automatically sets all this stuff up for you. And not only that, when you drag your files on there, it will know it's a Gatsby site. It will know how to build that Gatsby site. It will kind of just knows everything as soon as you drag those files on there. It can work out exactly what it is, and it will deploy sites for you. And this is kind of how I did it. So Gatsby build, so we've run Gatsby develop before, that's when you're in developer mode. You write one command, which is Gatsby build, and it creates a public folder. I drag that public folder onto that Netlify box, and I get a website out at the end of it. So, and to prove that, I've built one. It took me literally as long as this took. You can get your phones out. I'm not going to think you're checking Twitter, although I will check. And you can visit that site, hxconf2019.netlify.com, and there is a blog on there. And I won't show you exactly what's on there. You can go have a look. Hopefully it's not offensive to anybody there. And that's basically it. There's not much more I can kind of offer you on this without you going and exploring it yourself. So what I want you all to do at some point, technical, non-technical, if you're not technical and you're not confident, message me and I'll come and sit with you and try and explain things. I really want to get people enthusiastic trying these things. If you're really technical and you have used it or haven't used it, or you're a bit confused or you want to do a certain thing with it, again, come and see me and we'll try and run through some things. As examples of this, we recently, myself and Nikki, completely rebuilt all of our Merlin sites, so our 5 biggest sites down at Short Breaks on using Netlify and a Prismic setup. So we have content held in Prismic and all of our pages held in Netlify. Generates a static site, and we've got all of our pages built in that system. In about a week of evenings. Obviously we don't do it in work time, but we could show that it was really powerful and do some really cool things with it. So that's what I wanted to do. That's why it's such a short talk. And thank you, and have you got any questions? Anyway at all? There is There's no questions. This is great. It was a very simplified talk. Awesome. Oh, Andy.
What's your speed improvement been now on the transition?
So I tried it off the bat. Repeat the question. What has been the speed improvements of using this kind of site? So when I first started playing around with it, I wanted to I just used Lighthouse as a guide on speed, and I didn't tweak any of the settings or anything. I just wanted to see what it did off the bat. Accessibility, I ignored because that's down to the user that creates it, but particularly performance and the PWA side of things, the personal web app. Personal web app was around 98% straight out of the box, and the performance was around the 95%. And that was actually more to do with my Netlify setup than it was Gatsby. I just did a kind of link to this GitHub account and voila, there's a website. It took me, less than 5 minutes to make a couple of changes, and it was 100% across the board. The only bit that was slightly lower on the score that I liked was the latency side of things, and that's because it's using React, and React has a big JavaScript payload, and that latency is a bit of a pain. But I've since found a way of getting around that as well by just installing Gatsby plugin Preact. And if anybody knows Preact, it shrinks down your bundle and serves things really nicely, and it gets that latency right down. Obviously, Lighthouse scores are a good guide, they're not the be-all end-all, but certainly when I've used it, I've been playing around on my mobile stuff, being mobile first as a UXer, playing around on my mobile, on my watch as well, and it's fast, it's really fast, I'm very impressed. Obviously, it's a bad comparison, but when I checked the Legoland homepage on our old XGS SEO site and the one on Gatsby, it was I think the one on Gatsby was doing the whole homepage, which is very image heavy, in just over a second, and our current one is around 13, 14, which is terrible. But yeah. Anyone else got any questions? Yeah.
Once you've got yourself your blog that you have, once you want to start making changes, how much knowledge of GraphQL might you need? Does it come in quite soon after?
No, you don't need any. It's a nice to have. If you know it, use it. If you don't know it, you don't need to use it. Sorry, repeat the question. The question was, once you've got your blog set up, how much knowledge of GraphQL do you need after that? My answer is none, really. For this blog, in particular, I didn't do anything with GraphQL at all. In fact, this starter blog only uses GraphQL to run images through an image process. Out the back box, it comes with an image processor, which grabs the highest quality but smallest file size image as standard. And if you've played with it on your phone, you might see when you get to a blog post, the image is kind of blurry at the start and then kind of fades in nicely. And that's because it's trying to do some performance stuff with images. I didn't do that. That was part of it. In fact, most Gatsby starter projects have that image functionality built in, and that behind the scenes that uses GraphQL, but you don't need to adjust it, so you don't need GraphQL knowledge. When you come to linking it with a content management system, then GraphQL comes in really handy. And I, at starter, didn't know anything about GraphQL. I knew it was apparently really cool and fun, and everybody liked it, and it was, it was APIs in English apparently. But when I started playing with it, it did actually make sense. It's not that hard to play around with, and that was me with zero knowledge at the start. So the Prismic link up for our Legoland holidays page uses Prismic GraphQL. So as much or a little as you want. Anyone else got any questions? Yes.
Is my question actually. In this world where I'll keep it there. In this world where we have such convenient services like Medium, where we can blog on that, what perceived benefit or justification do you think people to venture out and do something like Gatsby?
This is a. I'm trying to think of it. I'm digesting the question first. So the question was, in this world where you've got things like Medium and other blogging platforms, what would get people to venture out in writing their own blog using Gatsby, etc. I am a bit of a naysayer about things like Medium. I'm very anti-Medium. It's a really good tool for those who aren't technical and just want to write stuff, right? That's great. But Medium's a business, and they were really great at the start, but they're turning into kind of this business machine. And for me, if you're writing stuff about you, you want your website to be about you. You want your styles, the way it looks, the pictures, the imagery, the writing content, the styles and stuff to be about you. It's your personal side of things. I know we're going into kind of a blog discussion here rather than a Gatsby discussion, but for me, I think any website, any team should have their own kind of personality on their blog, and I don't think Medium offers that. So there's that side of things, but the business side of Medium, they're in a bit of a pain world at the moment where they're trying to make money, and you can't make money off other people's blog posts very easily. So they're starting to, a lot of big companies, they're starting to put paywalls in front of blogs. So I know there was Free Code Hub or something like that, which is one of their biggest reading market. It's just a free code camp kind of thing, and they're putting paywalls. They're trying to put paywalls on those pages to make people pay to read the blog posts. And you're not in charge of your own data or your own content. As soon as you write on Medium, Medium own that content. So I'm always write your own stuff, except for when it comes to the technical stuff where I say borrow other people's. There's a method to my madness, I'm sure. Any other questions? Cool. I will run another brown bag session, and I'll do a non-technical one, a technical one, and we'll sit down and run and start building some stuff. If any of you have got any questions afterwards, I've got my laptop and I can show you demos of really complex Gatsby sites to really simplistic Gatsby sites. So if you want to know more, as I say, I use this for my own personal side projects. So and I've tried everything from Hugo to Jekyll and stuff like that, and I've really concentrated on this one. It's really good. Bye now.